Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the channel, guys. UCF Jaguar here, and we got an exciting show for you tonight, guys. We're going to be with you for the next hour. Shout out to everybody in here. We got a couple early arrivers. We got Leroy in the building. We've got, actually, Leroy. So I don't have my glasses on. We got Jaguar Man. We got Devontae is great. Kiko in the building. What is going on, my man? That dude, Evan, channel member, shout out to him. Thanks for coming in here. So we got a bunch to talk about today. I do have a guest with me. I got my boy Jason from Jaguars United. What's going on, Jason?
What's up? How's it going?
Dude, all is good. All is good over here. Man, I haven't talked to you in a while. Of course, I've been kind of doing my own thing with my studies and just trying to keep up with the YouTube consistency. But man, it was Jaguars were 8-3 at one point. We were feeling good. We were like, things could get better, but what can we complain about? We're 8-3. It's fine if the offense is a little bit stagnant. But man, I don't know how you go 8-3 and finish the way we did. Like, we've experienced all kinds of heartbreak as Jaguar fans, but usually it's just like the same old 4-12, 5-11. But the way the Jaguars ended this year was just different, wasn't it?
I mean, it's like the same record as last year. We ended the season so excited, and we have the same exact record win and loss wise, but it just feels like a total failure of a season. But we were talking about it before the show started, man. Putting out content when a team is just degrading downhill like the Jaguars were is really hard, and there's only so much you can say. But at least now we have a fresh start in the offseason, and we had some encouraging words from Trent Baalke to keep us going through the offseason. So I think we can all get pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, Trent Baalke today, it just shows me that we're in good hands. We're in good hands.
Yeah,
He looked confident. He clearly does no wrong. It's just, God, I mean, in all seriousness, though, it's just weird right now, man. And the thing that's frightening is that, like, he's no longer the GM of this team. After hearing that he's involved in the defensive coordinator interviews, dude, this guy is the EVP of the team.
Yep.
He's the EVP without the title because, he's controlling football operations. He's the highest ranking guy in the building. And nobody understands how Shad Khan just loves this guy so much to the point where he literally believes that this guy should be running the football operation. It's crazy to me.
The thing that kills me the most is, like, I'm even okay if you're going to give a guy, I call it czar status, right? But like, they do everything, right? I'm okay with that. But like, get somebody that shows you qualities of being a good leader. To me, the biggest quality you can show as a leader in any field is you can take accountability when things aren't going right. Like, that's number one, taking ownership, taking accountability. I was hoping Trent Baalke was going to go up there and say, we made some mistakes. We didn't address some things that we should have. We dropped the ball here. We did good here, but we dropped the ball here. But he went up there, and I think he made one comment about how you can start with him to blame, but then quickly moved off of it to talk about how system problems, developmental problems. And it was like, dude, you're not going to take any accountability. Like, no wonder there's issues in-house because you're not a good leader. And it doesn't matter like how talented you think you are as a talent evaluator. If people don't follow you and you can't lead people, then it won't matter. So I left that interview hoping to hear like normal coach speak where they don't throw anyone under the bus and where they don't really like give us too much information. But I left completely defeated. And I really am worried about this team under his leadership.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, I made a video yesterday just kind of talking about how I would like him to go up there and take some accountability and admit that he made mistakes. But, the thing, I wasn't surprised that he didn't like take any accountability. I mean, that's just the way. I don't understand why they can't. Like, if a quarterback is expected to go out there after they play a great game but lose and have to shoulder all the blame on themselves, but the GM can't do it, I just don't understand it. And on top of that, the thing that just really, really made me mad, it's indefensible, okay? You had every idiot Jags fan out there, including myself, saying, you need another pass rusher. You need another edge rusher. They didn't do that. First of all, he got really, really lucky that Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker stayed healthy the whole entire year.
Yep.
Both of them having double-digit sacks, which was nice. But when it comes to outside linebackers not named Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, 3 total sacks. 3 total sacks. And they brought up the question. I think it was Mark Long. He was like, do you regret not bringing another pass rusher? And he goes, oh, well, like, name some. Who am I going to bring in? They're like, Leonard Floyd, which, by the way, the Bills signed in like August, and he got 10 sacks. How about Jadeveon Clowney, who was in your building, and everyone's like, yo, he's in here. Don't let him leave. He got 9.5 sacks on the year. And, Baalke's just like, he and the thing that drives me nuts, do you regret not doing this? Oh, I don't live with any regret. Dude, what are you talking about? What kind of, it's like, dude, everybody, whether they live with regret or not, everyone would at least change something. You cannot tell me that Trent Baalke, nobody knows now, wouldn't go back and sign another edge rusher. It's just crazy how there's no accountability taken. It's nuts.
And like he talks like we're idiots. Like, oh, we brought back 21 of 22 people. So, we should have improved. Starters. It's like, dude, what about Arden Key? He's not a starter, but he was a massive part of our team last year as far as pressures and sacks. And we lost him, and you didn't replace him. So, yes, like, you can throw out stats all day. 21 of 22 came back, and we drafted people to help Doug. But like, we're not dumb, dude. Like, we all said we need to add an edge rusher to get pressure to help the defense. And not to mention all of the extensions that they did with the free agents they signed a couple years ago. Half of them should get cut next year. So take into we see the same team you do. We see the same books and contracts that you do. So don't sit up there and like think that we're idiots when we know we can see the same things that he does. So it was a little insulting to me because he really just tried to get up there and tell us that it's all fine. And we're good, and our system is good, and our process is good. Just let's just do it again next year. So I was a little insulted, to be honest.
No, dude, I was too, and it's just like, this is the guy that's going to lead us back, and this is the guy that's, as the EVP, I'm going to keep calling him the EVP because that's what he is. If the EVP has this kind of mindset, then he controls he controls the mindset of the entire organization. That's why you're seeing, I think, Doug Peterson kind of disheveled at the, after the Titans game, the day after, just kind of like, wide-eyed, not really understanding anything. Like, I guarantee you when, Doug Peterson and Press Taylor probably blame personnel. And I guarantee you Trent Baalke probably blames, Doug Peterson and like Press Taylor. And, I don't know what's going on with defensive coordinator interview. I mean, there's people out there that say that, it was Baalke that told him to hire him. There's people that were saying that Doug Peterson may have wanted somebody else. I don't know. There's just so much going on. And, when you just look at the history of Trent Baalke, everything points to the fact that somehow he makes every head coach that he deals with just hate their life and hate their job. And like, I saw a different Doug Peterson in the month of December than I've ever seen Doug Peterson. And it's just, it's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, how many times are we going to see Trent Baalke ruin franchises and run off head coaches and continue to miss on draft picks before we just call him what he is? And I know the fan base has been calling for him for years and I get that Shad Khan's not a football guy. I get that. I think Tony Khan is a football guy. And so I think there's got to be some accountability. I mean, there just really has to be. You can't have the team that we had with the on paper, the talent that we had, with the salary cap deficit that we had, as far as we'd used up all of our salary cap. So like, if it doesn't go right, you have to make changes. And I didn't get the sense from this interview or press conference that he's going to make any changes. So
yeah,
buckle up, boys. Here we go. Hopefully he hits on these draft picks this year.
Yeah. And that's the big thing. Like, when you talk about, you got to hit on your draft picks. I mean, that's been honestly probably the biggest reason, I think, for our lack of success. If you just look at the day 2 picks in the last 2 years, I mean, in 2022, you bring in Luke Fortner's 2022, you bring in Luke Fortner and Chad Muma in the 3rd round. And look, I am no like I'm definitely not a prospect expert, but I mean, I think I at least know a little bit about team building. And bringing in Chad Muma made no sense to me. It's like, okay, you just paid Foye Oluokun a bunch of money, and you just traded up in the first round for Devin Lloyd. When you draft Chad Muma, like what? I understand like this best player available approach, but at some point, it's like best player available at a position that makes sense, and that makes no sense. You're drafting a guy that might only see the field 20% of the time, and that's going to be a special teamer, and you're using a third round pick on that. And Luke Fortner, I actually the other day I looked at his, because I was curious about what his like NFL draft like prospect profile was, and it's like he's like not very strong, plays with high pad level, and I'm like, dude, this is the same exact player. Like, why are you getting a guy at like center that has issues of being too weak? You know what I mean? Like, it's concerning. And then you fast forward a year later, and in day two again, you draft Brenton Strange, and it's like, okay, like tight end, okay, cool, like whatever. I never really heard of this guy, but I'm not an expert. I'm gonna trust the guys that are getting paid millions. And then you draft Tank Bigsby, and it's like, why are you drafting an RB2 in the third round? Like with RB2s, I'm a firm believer of like, just find a guy in free agency. JaMychal Hasty did a fine job filling in for a year. Dearness Johnson, once Tank Bigsby got relegated, he came in there and I thought played pretty good job. So like, it's just the decision that he's making, trying to be way smarter than everybody. When you look at everything, it's like second round pick. Oh, Osiris Torrance, he's there. That's the guy. And then you look forward, you look at now, and it's like Osiris Torrance played like every snap. He was like all rookie. How much better would we be feeling right now if the right side of our offensive line was Osiris Torrance and Anton Harrison? I just feel like just that makes you worry a lot less about the offensive line. You just got to tweak a couple spots. But now it's just, I don't know, man. I'm not feeling very good right now.
Well, I mean, I think I counted. It was like 19 draft picks in the last 2 years. 19. And I would say 2.5 of the 19 helped us this year. Obviously, Travon Walker, number 1 overall pick. He better help you, right? And then you have Anton Harrison, who is playing well and is a good player. We think is going to be a good player. I maybe will give you Devin Lloyd. That's the half I'm going to give you because, I mean, yeah, he starts, but, I mean, he's very inconsistent. Outside of those 3 guys, not a single guy that he's drafted out of the other 19 are even provided us with quality depth this year. Like, you can't miss on 16 draft picks. I don't care what round they're in. I don't care if they're in the 7th round, 6th round. It doesn't matter. You cannot miss on 16 draft picks. Like, the probability of missing on 16 draft picks is probably unprecedented. Like, you got to at least hit one. So if you take it a step further, like, I'll give him credit for at least trying to build up the offensive line. Because if you go down the line, they either drafted a guy in the top 3 rounds or they signed a free agent. So like they did try there, but now your talent evaluation is off because your center's not playing well. You extended a right guard who is probably going to get cut. You have a swing left guard position where your plan was to start a guy coming off of a serious injury. And you have Cam Robinson, who is good when he's playing, but he's had injury concerns. He's had trouble with the league. And it's like, so now not only are you not drafting well, but you're also not bringing in the right guys. And like, that's not Doug Peterson's fault. Like, Doug Peterson has to coach with who he has. And I do firmly believe it's a personnel issue with this team. Absolutely. I mean, look at the physicality of this team. It was pathetic. It was absolutely pathetic. I watched every Falcons game when I did my preview, when I did my breakdown of Ryan Nielsen. They played so much more physical than we did. And we extended guys like Roy Robertson Harris, then Devon Hamilton, and brought in guys like Fatu Kasi. And so we're just, the talent evaluation is off. And that's what pissed me off the most today was when one of the reporters asked him, like, are you going to keep doing what you've been doing to evaluate talent? And he just like squarely was like, yes, our system's fine. And I was like, this dude doesn't live in reality. And that's my concern, is he does not live in reality. So I don't know, man.
No, I 100% agree with you. And by the way, we have 123 people here, guys. I am here with Jason from Jaguars United. Huge shout out to him. Probably the top Jags live streamer in the game. Always giving you guys the X's and O's and all the film breakdowns. So thanks to him. But also, guys, we do have a sponsor of the channel. We have BetUS. Shout out to BetUS, guys. They're doing different playoff odds right now. And look, right now, Super Bowl odds are out right now. Let's take a look at some of these numbers. Look, right now, no, that's not current. Okay, I'll go back to.
I'm taking the Packers plus 2,800.
I'm gonna pull up the current one a little bit in a later read. But if you guys are interested in getting in on the action, I think right now the favorites are the 49ers, and right now I think the Lions are at like plus 800, which I don't know. That one is interesting to me when you look at those odds. So real quick, want to throw in a quick ad read from BetUS.
BetUS, America's favorite sports book, where you can bet on everything anytime. Sportsbook, casino, horse racing, live betting, and more. We have the best bonuses in the industry. That's right, get a 125% sign-up bonus. And to celebrate our 30-year anniversary, we are giving up to 30 risk-free bets, a truck, Super Bowl tickets, and more. Don't miss out. Play smart. Join now. BetUS, where the game begins.
So thank you to BetUS, guys. Supporting these sponsors also support our channel. And look, guys, there's going to be some exciting stuff coming thanks to BetUS in the near future. Of course, I'll tell you guys a little more of that maybe another time. But thank you to BetUS, guys. 125% deposit bonus if you use my link down below. 24/7 customer service, and they also have quick 24-hour payouts. So thanks for everyone for being in here. Thanks, BetUS. And by the way, if you guys want to get on the show, have any kind of question for us, just simply leave a super chat. I know we have a bunch of different people in here, and if you guys do have an urgent question, even if you just drop $1, we're going to be able to read it for you guys. But yeah, like you were saying with the roster construction, like one thing, if I were to have any kind of optimism about this team, I do think that if you can improve the interior of the offensive line and improve the interior of the defensive line, get another pass rusher, I think that you're going to get a lot better, because I actually do like the Jaguars skill positions. I like Christian Kirk. I like Evan Ingram. I like ETN. I think we have some decent players in the secondary. Like, I really do think that if we can just get better in the trenches, get to the point where if it's a 3rd and 1, we can run up the middle and get a first down. I do think that the team dramatically gets better, because, I, at the end of the day, also believe in Trevor Lawrence. So I don't know if you have similar sentiments. I mean, do you think that if the Jaguars just improve those spots, like, we would get any better?
I don't know. The biggest thing that stood out to me every single week was the lack of physicality. We, like you talked about, we can't run the ball in 3rd and 1. People were so quick to blame Press Taylor, and he's not perfect, right? But like, I challenge people to this critical thinking exercise all the time. Imagine if you were an offensive coordinator of a football team, and you had all of you had your play sheet, you had all of these things ready to go. It's highlighted with different situations and scenarios. And then you have to cross out the entire section of the play sheet that's run up the middle. Like, try calling a game where you can't run up the middle. Like, that severely handicaps your offense. Like, severely. Because now you have to try to create runs by swing passes out to the edge, outside zone, toss sweeps. Opposing defenses, no, they don't even have to like blitz the A gaps, because they can just put their defensive tackles and defensive linemen and tell them to get into the gap and just hold their gap up. And the offensive line will not be able to push you back. I mean, that makes calling plays very difficult. So we have to find a way to get more physical. Now, you bring in a new center, you bring in some new D tackles, you bring in some interior offensive linemen that have some physicality. Then I think, all right, maybe we have something here. But I even point to the defense. Some of these guys that we were so high on, like Aluakon, played terrible down the stretch with missed tackles. Rayshawn Jenkins, Andre Sisco, I know he was injured. He was playing terrible down the stretch. Tyson Campbell, I know injured, but was nowhere near what we thought Tyson Campbell was as a corner. So, these guys that we had built up really let us down at the end of the season with their physicality. They just weren't tackling. We were one of the worst tackling teams in the league. When they fired Caldwell, I was like, okay, like sometimes you need like a fresh perspective when your team does poorly. But the first thing I tweeted was, I hope this new defensive coordinator can tackle, because our issue wasn't the scheme. Our issue was we just weren't tackling people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that we need to overhaul a lot of the front seven on defense, obviously outside of the edge rushers and the interior offensive line, because we just were not physical at all. And if we see with teams like the Lions and the 49ers and every team that's still in, what do they all have in common? They're incredibly physical. And you have to be that way nowadays in the NFL. And we tried to be this finesse, quick, you touch us, we go down. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So I wish I could join you on this. I feel good about our roster, but after seeing the implosion that we had at the second half of this season, I honestly don't feel good about our roster outside of a handful of people.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the big thing, is that like a lot of people want to see like, you know, fire press Taylor. These play calls are like awful. And it's like, dude, like the guy, like he can't even call, like, because I'm watching the playoffs and, you know, there's teams out there. Like I remember the Browns against the Texans. They ran a wildcat play on 1st and goal from like the 8, and they got like 6 yards. And I'm like, could you imagine the Jaguars tried to do that? They ran a QB sneak, an obvious QB sneak, and got like 4 yards. You know what I mean? Like we just couldn't call those plays. We had to get so cute doing all this outside stuff. We had to do the run game through, you know, the screenplay. And, you know, the Jaguars just simply weren't able to play balanced football. When you're not able to play balanced football, it's extremely easy to defend, because there's only like 2 or 3 things they really had to defend against the Jaguars. You know, there was nobody that was physical. There was, and especially in the month of December, once Trevor Lawrence's injuries started piling up, I mean, you know, Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback, lost faith in the offensive line and lost faith in a lot of things around him. I mean, he was out there starting to freestyle a little bit. And I know we all look at the final offensive play of the year when Trevor Lawrence tried to, you know, dunk the ball into the end zone. Luke Fortner got pushed like 5 yards back. if he can just get a little bit of push, that's a touchdown. But it was just terrible. And we're out here. The GM doesn't take accountability for it. Everything, it's concerning. It's really, really concerning that this guy is not only going to have to build our team back up, but he's also going to have to he's the culture builder here. And it's frightening. I mean, it's really, really frightening that this is the guy that, because I was looking at, like, for example, the Lions 2023 team. Like, Lions were a huge favorite coming into this year. A lot of people thought some good stuff was going to come out of them. But you know what they did in this you know what the rookie class consists of? It consists of Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, like Jack Campbell. They're getting so much contribution. And for us, it's like Anton Harrison is nice. I think Antonio Johnson had a couple. He showed some flashes. Like we might be able to do some stuff with him. But outside of that, nada. We got like nothing.
It's depressing to think about. And if I'm going to try to look at it optimistically, we did have significant injuries at key spots. We did draft some players who play positions that typically take some time to develop. And again, I'm grasping for straws here, really. But you know, when you take guys in the 6th and 7th round that don't even make the team, like that's concerning. So the only way that I think we can be positive about this is if we bring in some talent. If honestly, if we can get Calvin Ridley back and Josh Allen back, I think that's great if we can do that, because I mean, this is probably a separate conversation, but Calvin Ridley is going to be a top 3 receiver in free agency. So why let one walk away when you have one in the in-house? I get the 2nd round pick compensation that would go to the Falcons. I get all that, but everyone's like, oh, we'll just go get T Higgins. Well, it's like, well, yeah, there's like 30 other teams that are also saying that in their offseason YouTube channels. Right. And so it's not as easy as, oh, just go get the guy that we want. So I feel like if you have a guy in house, keep him. And, you know, I think Ridley's okay. And, you know, I think he could be a guy that gets better next year with another year playing football after taking a break and playing with Trevor. But he's going to have to hit on his draft picks, which I just he hasn't done. And so
Yeah.
it's very pessimistic around here. And I try to pride myself on optimism. And even I'm having trouble. So,
Yeah.
the fan base is in trouble when someone like me is having trouble being optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, we'll all come around in August when the team's out there and like they look awesome at training camp, man.
Yeah.
Look at them; they're firing all cylinders. Calvin Ridley is unguardable. Trevor Lawrence making every throw. Dude, Trayvon Walker, you should have seen him against the dummy today. Yeah, we'll all buy back in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and I'm kind of right there with you. And another thing that the list of concerning things that came out of today's press conference, it was like. I don't think they've really had conversations with Josh Allen, it sounds like, about working toward an extension. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
And I can understand with like Evan Ingram, for example. It's like Evan Ingram, he's like a tight end. It's a weird spot because tight ends, they want to get paid more money because like slot receivers make a lot more than tight ends when they're basically playing like the same position in a lot of ways. And that's a tricky contract. And look, they got the franchise tag on him. They got a deal done 4 months later. But with Josh Allen, it's like, how much do you really have to bang out? I mean, what was it, 17 and a half sacks this year? Like, he's a player that you drafted. You have nobody else besides Trayvon Walker in the defensive line. I mean, that was quite clear this year. And, that Josh Allen's the kind of guy that they just don't become available in free agency. And unless you're drafting like top 10, they're a very, very hard player to draft. So, I mean, I'm not messed around with if I'm the Jaguars on this. I'm giving him the deal, whatever the market rate is. I don't really know what numbers are numbers. I just know that whatever he deserves on the market is what the Jaguars need to pay him. So, and they of course it's a tricky situation this year because you have Calvin Ridley, and if you franchise tag him or you let him walk as a third round pick, if you get him a few years, then it's a second round pick. I mean, if I'm the Jaguars, I give Josh Allen his extension because it's not that hard. And then you tag Calvin Ridley because, like you said, I mean, I have people hitting me up. Like I have Jets fans, I have like Texans fans saying like, "Oh, we want to get Calvin Ridley," and it's like, well, wait a second. I'm not like Calvin Ridley. I had my frustrations with him. I definitely did, but he's. I think a pretty good receiver, and he should only get better. I mean, he took so many years off. I think he struggled a little bit with the playbook, which is definitely on him. But I also think it's on the offensive coaching staff to, get these guys on the same page because it kind of reminded me of 2021 Urban Meyer with like all the players on different pages all throughout the game. And I don't know, Calvin Ridley, he should only get better. I mean, I think he wants to be here. He eclipsed 1,000 yards, and that'll be tricky, and that's something that we'll definitely be looking at as we head toward the franchise tag deadline.
Well, if you can get that BetUS percentage to like 150 for Calvin Ridley, I think we may have a better chance at keeping him around because it's a pretty good deal you got going on there, and that could be something that incentivizes him. But on a serious note, I actually liked the way Calvin really played down the end of the season when he became like the only guy outside of Evan Ingram. I mean, I think he's really good at what he does, really good, right? He had some drops. He had some issues with the playbook, but I mean, Calvin Ridley is a rare talent, and I don't think he even really had a fair shot with this offense, given how hamstrung we were at the offensive line. So I think he'll only get better. I think it'd be foolish to let him walk and get outside to another team because I don't trust Baalke to draft a guy. So if you got a guy that's proven he can be a good receiver, keep him. And as far as Josh Allen, I mean, I'm with you, man. Back the Brinks truck up, keep him here. I was skeptical. I think we all were skeptical of him going into the season because he was a little inconsistent until this season. But this season showed that he is one of the best defensive ends / edges in the league. Just the way that other players and other coaches talk about him is extremely impressive. And I'm a firm believer in that if other people in the league are saying good things about someone, they know better than we do. And that speaks, volumes to me. So I'm right there with you. Sign Josh Allen, tag Ridley, figure out a way to get Trevor's contract done this year. And now you have a core nucleus of talent. And even if that means you got to drop some people along the way that we like, guys like Zay Jones, maybe down the road, Aluakon, which we all like these guys and we would love to keep them. But once that quarterback contract gets fat, then you got to start making concessions other places. And we've seen teams can still win, with that. So you just have to draft well. You have to get production out of players that are young. And that's our biggest issue right now is we're getting zero production out of our young players.
Yeah. No, and that's another thing. It's like, we want to bring Ridley back on a whatever your deal, but at some point you got to try to get younger at receiver. I mean, when it comes to Trent Baalke, he's drafted 2 wide receivers in his tenure. He drafted Jalen Camp. I don't know if you guys remember him, but is like a 6th or 7th round pick from Georgia Tech, and then Parker Washington, which I mean, I like Parker Washington for a day 3 pick. I thought they played pretty decently. I think it was like a 5th or 6th round pick, but not a lot of investment there. And right now, when you look at the Jaguars wide receiver core, you got a bunch of like maybe not veterans, I should say. I don't want to say old guys, but veterans. I mean,
right.
Christian Kirk's on a big deal. Zay Jones, I don't know what his Jaguar future holds. I think he was probably playing pretty injured this year. We obviously have Ridley with his contract situation. And even if you want to put in Evan Ingram in that mix, I mean, we need to at some point get younger there. And the good thing about, and that's one thing that, like you say, it worries me. It's like, I wish we had more draft picks because like I would love to invest our 1st round pick in a wide receiver, but then does that mean we're not drafting again until the 3rd round because we give Calvin Ridley an extension? You got like, this is when like not building not drafting well is going to catch up with you because look, the 2022 draft class was like great, or not draft class, but a free agency class was great. I mean, but it's at this point where you should be able to replace Aluakon with Chad Muma, but I don't think we feel comfortable doing that. You know what I mean? You should be able to replace like with Brandon Sheriff. You should have had a young guy sitting behind him and learning, but right now there's nobody. He wasn't molding anybody to kind of take over for him. With some of these players, it's like, who's going to replace Foley Fatukasi on the interior? I mean, he sucks anyway, but like, it's just, we haven't been, the point of free agency is you get guys to fill holes and then you draft guys and you replace those guys and you're going to, re-sign the wide receiver ones, the quarterbacks, the edge rushers. But right now, like we haven't been drafting to do that. Now we're in a situation where we're going to have to do some serious like roster auditing because we're going to have to get tricky here. We have to make the decision. Can we go without Foye Aluakon? Cam Robinson, if you cut him, you save like $17 million against the cap. So it's like, is Walker Little going to be our future at left tackle? There's going to be a lot of tough decisions to be made, and it's going to have to be made. And I think, as much as it sucks seeing Houston make their run, I do think that it's going to have to be a kick in the ass because I think it was easy for Trent Baalke and the crew and Trent Baalke to sit back and say, hey, we're going to run this back because we got a bunch of rookie quarterbacks that are going to be in division. They're going to be rebuilding this year. But look, we finished with the same exact record as the Colts, and we got overstepped by the Houston Texans. So now we have to do some urgency because the Colts and Texans should only get better. I don't really know what the plan for the Colts is, but this bad drafting is starting to catch up to us.
I will say, quite honestly, the CPA using the word audit made my heart skip a beat there for a second. But I'm willing to move past that. But the division, I mean, the AFC South is going to be one of the premier divisions next year. I mean, the Titans are just somehow always a hard team to play for us. The Colts and the Texans are obviously trending up like tremendously. So, yeah, you're right. The pressure's on. It is a kick in the ass for this whole team. And I think that's what is kind of laying in the shadows that's making a lot of Jags fans uncomfortable, right? And it's okay. Like now to even make the playoffs, we have to be a very good team, right? We're not squeaking in the way that the Bucks did, right? We're not squeaking in the way that like the Packers ended up doing, right? We're going to have to be a good team because not only is our division winner going to be good, but then the two teams under the division winner are going to be vying for the wild card spots. So we're in a tough situation where, the NFL is all cyclical and we're coming up on a cycle where the AFC South is about to be very good. The coaches are good. The quarterbacks are good. The other teams are building their rosters well. I mean, I even look at a guy like Will Levis. The little bit I saw out of Will Levis kind of worries me. I mean, he is a good quarterback. And so we got to get things going now. We have Trevor, who I would rather have than any of those other guys, even Stroud. But if you can't keep him upright and you can't run the ball to create a little bit of offensive balance like you were talking about, it doesn't matter how good he is. So we got some tough decisions to make, like you said. And I think you're going to see some cap casualties here in the next couple of years. Yeah. Like, I don't know if there's a way you can keep a guy like Cam Robinson, although he's one of my favorite players, but it's like his contract and what you can get out of it for. I mean, I would not be surprised, and I don't want this to happen. And I'm saying I think this will happen, but I would not be surprised if Cam Robinson gets cut and they play Walker Little at left tackle and play Anton at right, or some variation of those two guys, because the amount of money you free up in Cam Robinson, you could address a lot of needs. And now we're starting to look at, okay, what does he give us versus what we are getting? And we're not in a position where it's very cut and dry, where it's like, this person gives us this, we got to resign him. It's like, we're so weak in this area that we're going to have to compensate somewhere we know we have a good player. And that's always scary. So the hope is the year was just an anomaly of a year. The injuries caught up with us at the end of the season. I don't know what happened to the defense. I know there was rumors of the in-house fighting and the offensive and defensive coaches blaming each other. And to be fair, if I was a defensive coach, I would 100% blame the offense. Like the amount of 3 and outs they had, the amount of times the defense would get a turnover and then the offense would go 3 and out, I would be kind of pissed too. And as someone that's been a coach, you get kind of mad at your teammates on the other side of the ball if they're not helping you. It's like, we're carrying our weight, you need to carry yours. And when you have an offensive-minded head coach who's protecting his offensive coordinator, if there's any of that type of in-house fighting, they're not going to fire themselves. So, I'm not surprised that Caldwell was fired and they cleaned house. I am excited about Ryan Nielsen. I think he's more of a attacking 3-4 type. And it's going to really put our defensive players like in the spotlight. We had a scheme kind of this year where like you could kind of hide some deficiencies and you could make up for some deficiencies with the way that you call your defense. Ryan Nielsen, with the way he calls defenses, the average fan is going to be able to look at each player and know who was responsible for that mistake. And that's a tough spot to be in, but it's putting all the cards on the tables and you got to have some dogs. So they can't draft all offensive players again if they want Ryan Nielsen to be successful. So scary. I feel like I'm ending every rant with like, I'm scared, and I hate doing that to you guys, but we'll see what happens.
No, yeah. I mean, it's scary just the way that, I mean, he's just not a good GM, and it's just, it doesn't make you feel any better the way that he was acting today and just some of the things he said. But hey, like I said, the title of this video, like second part is the Jaguars do hire Ryan Nielsen. I thought it was a really good hire. I mean, I wanted a guy that, first of all, with some defensive coordinator experience. I know it's not important to everybody, but it was kind of important to me because, I think it's good to, even though he only had 1 year of experience, I think that he was a defensive coordinator that's trending in the right direction. He didn't get fired. He just, looking for a new coach. And when a new coach comes, like, they often don't retain, their coaches, and especially in the sense of, they hired Raheem Morris today, the Atlanta Falcons, and Raheem Morris is a defensive guy. So obviously he's going to want a lot of autonomy over that defense, and Ryan Nielsen just wasn't going to be able to fit into that situation. So I think it's a good person to bring in because, look, he's going to, like he had on the Falcons, he'll have full autonomy of this defense. I think Mike Caldwell, the big flaw about him, I thought, was just, I don't think he was putting guys in like the best positions a lot of times. Like, especially you go back to like 2022, it took till after the bye week to start moving some players around and some of their more like natural positions. And just overall, I thought I don't know. I thought that he just wasn't really being able to play personnel to the best abilities. And then also just, it felt like the defense just kind of gave up on everybody at the end of the year. And like, you had that one play where against the Titans where Tajay Spears got the ball at like the 22-yard line. You have, Tyson Campbell signaling 4th down, and he somehow slipped out of that and got a touchdown. So I don't know what went wrong there. Now, granted, I imagine there's in-house coaching fights if Trent Baalke is a GM because, he preaches like no accountability. But, I thought overall the Jaguars got a home run hire with Ryan Nielsen.
I watched a lot of Atlanta Falcons video the last couple of days, trying to just get
you
a
had a
feel.
stream last night, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did a show. I kind of broke down what it's going to look like, what I think it's going to look like. And one of the things I didn't really talk about on the show that I spent a lot of time doing was kind of comparing the rosters between the Falcons and the Jags. And there's not a lot of similarities. They used corners that had good reputation, like D. Alford and Jeff Okudah and guys like that who are good corners and they can press you at the line of scrimmage. They had guys like Bud Dupree. They leaned heavily on Jesse Bates. They brought, one of the most promising things about him that I saw was their middle linebacker, Caden Ellis, was like a dog on that defense. And I think Aluakon will be able to be used in a similar way. But we don't have a Jesse Bates on this team. We just don't. We want Cisco to be that guy. But after what I saw out of him in the last half of the season, I'm not I don't really know. And Ryan Nielsen's going to line up 8 guys at the line of scrimmage, including corners. So like they're going to try to play bully ball. The defensive linemen, they weren't like gap stuffers the way that our D linemen have been. They would knife into the gap and get upfield, and then they would lean on the linebackers to make the tackle behind them. That's not a system that we've done under Caldwell or even recently. So I don't know if Nielsen's going to change a little bit of what he does based on the personnel. I don't know if they're going to bring in people that do what Nielsen does. I'm not concerned about the man versus zone type stuff because if you're going to blitz, you got to be able to play man. So I want to blitz more. Every team in the playoffs, every good team, you watch their defense, they're blitzing all the time. Like you have to put pressure on the quarterback and your corners have to cover in man. So, I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter and stuff that it's like, oh, we have zone corners, not man corners. Well, figure it out here because I think every corner plays better in zone. You get to see the play happen in front of you. So
do you think Tyson Campbell has the ability to be able to do that?
I do. Now he's not a press jam corner like that you think of. He's not going to get his hands on the receiver at the line of scrimmage, but he has such good feet and such good balance. He can actually what's called press with his feet, and he can actually like play press and then never even punch you with an offhand jam or something like that. And he can still stay on your hip and play in man. And when he was young, we saw him get turned around when the ball was in the air, but he has gotten a lot better at that as time has gone on. I think Darius Williams is similar. He could be a guy that you bring back into the nickel. And I know people don't want to hear that, but if you can get a big body corner in the draft or free agency that can just really jam at the line of scrimmage on the field side, then you can get away with what he does because the blitz will get home. So I think the defense will look a lot different. The front, as far as a 4-man front versus a 3-man front, it's not that big of a deal. People get way too concerned about that. Most defenses are hybrid fronts anyways. So, and you're nickel most of the time. So I worry about the front 7 and how they'll play, not where they're lined up, but like how they'll play. Like, can they knife into the gap and get upfield? Can the strong safety set the edge and make a tackle in the backfield? Because they didn't do that this year. So that's going to be my biggest question mark. But I like Nielsen's style for what you have to do to win in the NFL versus Caldwell's, even though I was hoping Caldwell's style would be like Todd Bowles. And although it was at the beginning of the season, it looked nothing like Todd Bowles' defense in the second half of the season. So I don't know what changed, but that'll be interesting to watch this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, and I did get a little bit hyped up because if you guys watched it, some of his like mic'd up clips, he definitely, he's not an old dude. He's in his, I think, lower 40s. So like, he's got still a lot of good energy. And, yeah, I'm excited for the hire. I like Atlanta. And one thing, when you look at it, like, you want to look at how a fan base reacts. And, a lot of Atlanta Falcons fans were upset that they missed out on him. And, it's, is what it is. So real quick, I do have for you guys, I got the right picture in here. Super Bowl winner.
Yeah.
Here is it right here. Okay, so right now we have the 49ers as favorites at plus 150, which means that if you put down $100 and the 49ers win, you would get $150. We have the Ravens at plus 200, Chiefs at plus 350, and the Lions, the Red Hot Lions, at plus 750. Are there any BetUS lines right here that you like the most?
So let me preface this with I have been on an insanely cold streak of gambling recently. But what that means, if you back the scope up far enough, probability speaking, I'm due for a hot streak. All right. And if we know anything about Vegas and gambling, they want you to quit gambling. Okay. So I'm not going to quit. All right. I will tell you what catches my eye. The Chiefs at plus 350. That may be something that I put a little fun bet down on, because if I know anything about the NFL, they want the Chiefs to win. And even though they may not say it to the refs, like, hey, refs, we want the Chiefs to win. The refs aren't dumb, and the refs get a share of the collective bargaining agreement. And if there's more money in the NFL, guess who gets more money? And if the Chiefs win, I know I'm conspiracy theorist right now. I get that, but that plus 350, and I don't even know. I don't want the Chiefs to win. I don't necessarily think they will win, but at those odds, I might put a little fun bet down on that.
Yeah, and I know if you want to put like a low risk bet, I mean, if you want to put $50 down on the Lions, if that one pulls out, you're gonna get $375. I don't know. I mean, the Lions are red hot right now. Now, granted, if you will plan the conspiracies, which 10 years ago I would have called you crazy. Now, I don't know, man. Like you look at the Super Bowl logo colors, and I don't know. It's interesting the way these things kind of work, but I do think at the end of the day, I think that we got the best four teams in the Final Four, which is exciting, and it's going to be a really, really exciting weekend of football. With these different teams facing off. I know I'll be really highly interested in both these games. I think it'll probably be like the Chiefs 49ers, which would be boring. But I think Ravens and Lions would be a lot of fun. But I think overall, I think the game I'm most excited for, like we've seen a lot of like Patrick Mahomes versus like Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, but we haven't seen that healthy Patrick Mahomes versus healthy Lamar Jackson in the playoffs yet. And, this is for the AFC title. This is for it all. I mean, no team is playing better right now than the Ravens, but they're going to have to get through the team that's been representing the AFC for how many straight years in the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's going to be a tough matchup, man. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, Lamar Jackson is just playing out of his mind right now. I mean, I want to throw this question at you. This was one of our banter questions with me and my friends watching the games. How many different positions do you think Lamar Jackson could play if he really wanted to?
Oh, man. I mean, I was one that in the combine, not that I didn't believe in him at quarterback, but I just wanted to see him run some wide receiver routes. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to see him run out there because, dude, he's got so much speed and like I thought it would have been interesting, but man, that's definitely wide receiver. I mean, clearly running back.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's going to hold up, and press man against one of these wide receivers.
I mean,
he's athletic.
Safety.
Yeah,
he can probably play safety.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I think there's a reason why he didn't run at the combine, because there's gonna be teams that are like, you might be good at quarterback, but you could be really good at wide receiver. But man, he's a hell of a player, and he's really fun to watch.
Dude, the way he accelerates just blows my mind. He goes from like standing in the pocket, reading the field, to top speed in like 3 steps. It's an absolute nightmare to defend against. And I mean, like you said, this is the first time we've seen him like healthy, and who was even healthy at this time of the season, right? And that man is incredible. He's special. He doesn't even have any good receivers on his team. I mean, he really is like the Jags receiving core is way better than the Ravens receiving core. So I mean, it's impressive what he's doing. If I had to bet money and I was trying to win, I would bet on the Ravens. I really would. I think they're the best team. And I like the way all of the other teams are playing. I think the Lions are playing well. The 49ers are obviously a good team. The Chiefs are always a good team, but there's something about the Ravens when you watch them. I mean, they just dominate at the line of scrimmage, and they have such a talented quarterback. I love their coach. That's probably who I'm betting on to win.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good bet. And look, like if you guys are interested in getting in on any of this action, guys, BetUS is going to match your first deposit up to like $2,500. So 125% deposit bonus. They're giving out all that free money. And not only that, guys, they're actually giving away an opportunity to win 2 Super Bowl tickets, guys. The contest actually ends tonight. The winner is going to be announced tomorrow. What you got to do is you've got to go on Twitter, post any kind of bet slip, and put a minimum $25 deposit. Tag the BetUS official handle and tag the friend you would be taking with you. You know, you can tag me. Feel free to. Use hashtag BetUS LVIII. And look, the contest ends today, and winner will be announced tomorrow, guys. You could very well figure out tomorrow that you're going to the Super Bowl. So thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video and this live stream. Much love. And hopefully next year we're talking about how great of a job Trent Baalke did and all that. But yeah, 24/7 customer service, 24-hour payouts. Shout out to BetUS.
Have you ever been to Vegas before?
I was like 9 years old, so I didn't get a real Vegas experience.
I don't think I would trust myself in Vegas. Like, if I won, I would go, but I would need like an accountability partner to go with me, because I would be I'd be selling an organ trying to win back my money that I lost playing poker till 5 a.m. So I kind of hope I don't win that bet, but I might have to do one of those bets here on Twitter here before the night ends.
That would be man, that would be fun. That I was so wanting the Jaguars to go to the Super Bowl, so I had to make a tough decision of, do I want to sell my truck and go out there? Or it's not selling if you know you're going to win. You know what I mean? So I could turn one Tacoma into 2 Tacomas. You know what I'm saying? But man, yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. But you know what? We're all going to save a little bit of money. We're all going to stay at home. We're going to have our Super Bowl parties with people that know nothing about football, and you spend your time explaining the game of football to them. I know we all love doing that, but
the ones that talk during the game and tell you to be quiet during the commercials. Those are my favorite people.
Yeah, the ones that are like, wait, well, why? If it's 3rd and 30, why are they running the ball? You know what I mean? Like, I just and that's one thing. Like, when I was thinking about like, what would I do if the Jaguars were in the Super Bowl? And I was like, you know what? I'd probably have a bunch of friends over, and I would make sure that everybody actually understands football, because I am not about to watch the Jaguars in the Super Bowl while I'm explaining the game of football to anybody. I can't do it. I don't have the patience for that.
I would have to have just Jags fans over. And it would just, because I'd probably cry. Oh, yeah. I almost cried when the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago. And so,
I would cry win or lose.
I would, so I would need people that I trusted and that would also be crying with me. And I couldn't have someone being like, hey, what is fourth? How many downs do they get? Like, what is that for? I had someone ask me that at the beginning of the season. Someone watching the game with us was like, so how does the downs work? I was like,
yikes.
You poor soul.
I will say it's a really, because during my birthday was a couple months ago, and like a bunch of us were watching, the UCF game, and then one of my wife's friends was in from Puerto Rico, and he was kind of watching with us. But like in Puerto Rico, they don't watch like really much football, and I was always wondering, like, man, it's got to be so hard, like, because I think if you have never watched basketball before, it's kind of easy. It's like, you shoot, you score in the goal. If it's soccer, you get in the goal. A lot of these are like that. But if you've never really watched football before, that's got to be the most confusing sport when it's like, why is the clock running now, but why is it not running then? Like, what are these downs? Like, what, you know what I mean? It has to be so confusing. But man, there's no better sport than football. I mean, it's just, it's a story, and it's so much strategy, and it's there's nothing better.
What blew my mind today was when someone was like, oh, Super Bowl 58. And for some reason, it like just dawned on me that, like, if you're 60 years old, there was 2 years of your life where there was no Super Bowl. And
Yeah.
like, that's not that old. So
No, and like Super Bowl 37 was in Jacksonville, right?
yeah.
That was like 20 years ago now. Like, dude, like, shit, man. Like, now
like
that we're getting older, it's like, dude, like, pretty soon we're gonna have whatever Roman numeral the 100 is.
X
Like, it's yeah.
or C.
I mean,
Is it X or C? I don't know.
I don't even know. It's definitely not X. X is 10.
X is 10. It's C. It's C.
The funny thing was when it was Super Bowl 50, it was just L. So they're like, I don't think we want a Super Bowl with L in it. So they just like changed it to number 50 for the year.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that.
No, yeah, for that it was the Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl.
Mm.
But man, all these Super Bowls are going by, and I'm not seeing the Jaguars in any of them. And we gotta hopefully I mean, if there's any optimism, I do believe in Trevor Lawrence. I mean, look, there was a point where before Trevor Lawrence got, all the injuries. I know, I'm not one thing I tell people, I'm not gonna sell you on Trevor Lawrence. Look, you have your opinions, I have my opinions. Right. I think he's good. I mean, before the injury, he was like 12-4 in his last like 16 regular season games.
Mm-hmm.
And then honestly, just the roster got exposed and, injuries happened. Trevor Lawrence was, even in a Titans game, you could tell that the shoulder was hurting him. Like the throw to Ingram in the end zone was kind of like a lollipop. It wasn't his typical throw on a line, and he just wasn't confident in the team. And it's shame on Trent Baalke, who we spent most of the stream complaining about for building a team that ultimately got your quarterback about 18 different injuries. So, hopefully he comes back good and we build back the offensive line where he actually has time to sit back there and scan the field and throw it. Because he can make most of these throws and, things just get better there. So, I don't know. We got the quarterback, hopefully head coach. I just don't know about our EVP. I mean, GM.
The head guy, the head honcho is the one that we're questioning, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but it's where we're at.
Yeah, it really is. But all right, guys, we appreciate everyone for being in here, man. By the way, I know some people asked. This is Jason from the Jaguars United YouTube channel. He goes live twice a week. Let everybody know what your YouTube live schedule is.
Yeah, well, during the season, we do Tuesdays and Fridays. We do live shows, film breakdowns. I took a couple weeks off. I did a show on Tuesday. So right now we can safely say Tuesday nights. And then we'll see what else. I've been going live on Twitch a lot recently. And it's just Jags United on Twitch. And, because that's less, I have to do less homework when I go live on Twitch. I can just kind of talk and it's a lot easier. I don't have to be as prepared as I like to be for the Jaguar shows. But we have fun regardless. And, yeah, I mean, I appreciate you having me on. I think when I first got into starting to do YouTube, you were a major reason why people came over to my channel. So I always like to give people credit when they've affected me in a positive way. So I appreciate that. And thank you for all the people you've sent my way.
Yeah, man. And you deserve it, man. I mean, you're out here putting in the work. Look, we as YouTubers know, like, it's not as easy as flipping the camera on and just talking. I mean, there's a lot of prep work that goes into it. I know, like, I'm always writing down different notes and doing different research. I have an idea of what I want to talk about, but I can't just sit here. We gotta know, especially stats wise. Like, I can't just be like, be throwing out there stats I don't know what I'm talking about. So, we've been sticking through it. How long have you been podcasting for? What year did you start?
So we started the podcast, ironically, at the beginning of the 2017 season. So it was a great season to start the podcast. That went on for a couple of years. And then when my people I podcasted with slowly fell off one by one, because consistency is the hardest part of doing this. I think even you advised me, like, hey man, go to YouTube. It's way better. It's you can interact with fans more. It's more fun. And you were right. And I haven't looked back. I think that was 2020. So it's been a good 3 years. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've been at it since 2017 too. I started, my very first video was Jaguars hire Doug Marrone. And,
nice.
It's actually 7 years January. So yeah, it's been 7 years for both of us. It's crazy the amount of time we've been on here. And Jaguars, there's been ups and downs, a lot more downs. But I'll tell you what, the downs make the ups so much better.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like last year was a lot of fun. This year started off pretty fun. I was talking a lot of shit, especially the Texans fans. And Yeah, Texas fans, let me have it. I mean, I had that video. I think it got like 2 million views.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. I posted that Twitter video just like talking shit, and like I was getting circulated around Texans Twitter like crazy, man. And you better know that when I got when we lost the division, Texas fans were all over me, but it's all good. I can't talk shit about the Jaguars because they can't back it up anymore. So I'm going into prevent defense going forward.
Well, in your defense, in the ups or downs, Jaguars fans are always around. And I haven't seen too many Texans fans in my life, but now I'm seeing quite a few. So I don't know what that says about their fan base, but I know that Jags fans stick through it through thick and thin, and a lot of other fan bases, you only hear from them when they have something to talk about.
Yeah, 100%. But all right, guys, thanks guys for joining. Check out Jason from Jaguars United. Also, big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's stream. 125% deposit bonus, 24/7 customer service, and 24-hour payouts. Thank you, everybody, so much. Go Jags.